G'day folks, Links here, and welcome back to another episode of Nomifactory. So this week is a big milestone week for me in terms of Gregtech progression. Because I'm going to build something that I've never actually built before, which is the fusion reactor. So I've never actually made it far enough in any GT pack I've played to build a fusion reactor. I'm not too far off fusion in GT and H, so I think I've just got to do the first two steps of waterline and the netherite line, I believe, and then I can do fusion. Actually, I think it's just first two steps of waterline. I think the last step of netherite line is maybe locked behind fusion. I don't know. I've not looked at the quest book in ages in GT and H. So yeah, basically that's what I would like to do. That's how I want to cap off this video, is actually get the fusion reactor built. So I know where it's going to go. It's basically going to go over here, and it looks like this. So it takes up exactly a 15 by 15 space. And I think we're just going to stack them, if I'm honest. I may do different chunks for Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3. So we might just stack Mark 1s, for example. But we're going to be building a lot of donuts. We're going to be building a lot of these donuts. They are good for passiving because of the way the mechanics work. They basically build up an energy buffer. They build up an energy buffer. So it might take like, I don't know, 160 million EU to start a recipe. And effectively the premise is that it's using that EU to build heat. And then my understanding is that when it stops doing anything, when it's not processing anything, the level starts to drop. So the idea is to keep it processing stuff. So using auto crafting with it may not be may not be the greatest idea. We'll see. I'll start with auto crafting first, and we'll see how much power we waste. Because there's a lot of stuff that needs there's a lot of stuff that needs fusion in the next couple of tiers, so we'd probably be fine. But yeah, so first thing I want to do though is a bit of a update. So first of all, the top platform is actually basically gone. That's not chunk loaded over there. And like I said, the only reason I'm keeping it is because I've got mobs here, which we're going to very, very ethically turn into circuits in the next, not the next tier of circuits, but the tier after. Because the next tier is crystal circuits. But when we come to look at wetware circuits, we'll be setting up a very ethical mob farm to turn those mobs into circuits. And the other big change is Naqaduah line. So we now have a Naqaduah line. So in the I believe it... Oh, sorry, I'm still in op. In the last video, I mentioned these mixer recipes. I think it was the last video. I definitely mentioned them. I mentioned these mixer recipes, so enrich Naqaduah, for example, and there's also one for Naqaduah. These are only available in normal mode, to my knowledge, and they're basically a less efficient way. If you don't want to build the big processing line, they're less efficient. They're the less efficient way to get it without building the Naqaduah line. It just means you have to make more micro miners because you'll get less products per ore. So it does mean you have to build more micro miners. But the GTCU Naqaduah line still exists in normal mode. And in addition to getting you more Naqaduah, in addition to getting you more enriched Naqaduah and Naqaduah per stack of Naqaduah ore, it also gets you byproducts. So it gets you titanium, it gets you trinium, it gets you indium, and it also, later on in the line, when you get to these DTs, it gets you gallium and barium as well. So you get a good amount of byproducts from it, and it's not too difficult. I don't know if it's any different in hard mode. I know I think it has a different input in hard mode. I think there's a few steps before getting the Naqaduah dust in hard mode, if I recall. But basically, you make fluoroantimonic acid, which is basically just a load of fluorine and some antimony, and that gets you the impure solutions. And it also gets you titanium. You just send this to a blast furnace, and it outputs titanium and hydrofluoric acid. The impure solutions then go into centrifuges. So, like I showed you, one gets you trinium and one gets you indium, but then it gets you the I guess pure solution. So in this case, enriched Naqaduah solution. The solutions then go into mixers, so which we have here. So one for enriched Naqaduah, one for Naqaduah. And then that makes the acidic solutions. The acidic solutions go into centrifuges again. And they make the sulfate, so either enriched Naqaduah sulfate or Naqaduah sulfate. And you just send those into a blast furnace. You get some sulfuric acid back, but you also get this, and you get some fluorine back, not much, but you get some back. And then you also get this waste. And you want to process this waste because it gives you some of the solution back, which you just loop back into, which just loops back into the mixer. Gives you some sulfuric acid back, but it also gives you another byproduct, 50% chance at barium in this case. And those byproducts are just going into this electrolyzer. So if we look here, we just have zinc sulfide, calcium phosphide, gallium sulfide, and barium sulfide. The blast furnaces here, that's probably very bright. But yeah, the blast furnaces, that's trinium and enriched Naqaduah. You can't make Naqaduah until you get to ZPM because it needs trinium coils. Which, because of the way I've wall shared these, we'll actually have to upgrade the entire row to trinium coils. But that's... excuse me. But that's fine. So I'm level emitting these off of ingots. So 1,000 trinium ingots for the trinium and 1,000 for the enriched Naqaduah. And I'm also but because of how slow the blast furnaces are, I'm actually level emitting the input side of the line as well. So the chemical reactors are level emitted based on the trinium sulfide and enriched Naqaduah sulfate. They'll also be level emitted on Naqaduah sulfate, which I guess I could actually do now, because we are making Naqaduah sulfate. We just can't smelt it just yet. But yeah, and then basically what I have is I have a level maintainer. I think I might have shown that last video. In my group of level maintainers over near the terminals, there is a level maintainer that's maintaining Naqaduah dust. So it requests a microminer whenever we go below 1,000 Naqaduah dust. And basically, these LCRs will be fed Naqaduah dust whenever we're low on, on the outputs, essentially. So if you're not averse to building processing lines, and by this point in the pack, I would kind of guess that you're not, I would highly advise building the Naqaduah line rather than doing the mixer recipes, just because you get, first of all, it's so much more efficient at producing the immediate products from Naqaduah, like enriched Naqaduah and Naqaduah, but it also gets you a lot of useful byproducts. I mean, we're not... Oh, these have run out of power. That's fine. They'll fix themselves. They'll fix themselves when daytime rolls around. But yeah, so basically, that's the Naqaduah line. I've also moved the extreme combustion engines over here, and I've added a few more. And these are outputting LUV power now. So they're liquid oxygen boosted, and they're outputting LUV power. So once I build the last 4, then we'll have 32 amps of LUV power. But yeah, and these vacuum freezers, the ones that are currently running low on power, are for producing the liquid oxygen that we need to keep everything powered, to keep the LUV, to keep the generators producing LUV power. If they run out of liquid oxygen, then they'll go back to producing IV power. I did do these with solar panels simply because of the fact that it means that I don't lose, because It takes 16 of these to keep up with 32 of those generators. And these are all running at IV. So this is 4 amps of LUV. And I really didn't want to sacrifice 4 amps of power profit for those. I didn't want to sacrifice essentially four extreme combustion engines worth of power for the liquid oxygen. The reason these have been generally stable, the reason that they are actually out of power is primarily because the base has been going pretty much full tilt for about 3 and a bit hours now. I've been drawing basically 2 UV amps for the better part of about 3 hours. Crafting the fusion reactor. I needed to create, I mean, it was like nearly 2,000 ingots of LUV superconductor. And that is a fairly slow smelt, even at ZPM. It's a fairly slow smelt. So the base has been fairly busy. As you can see now, we're fairly low now. There is still some stuff going. I think some of the blast furnaces are going. I don't actually know where all the power's going right now, because none of the blast furnaces are going. No, the trinium ones are still going. So yeah, basically, the passive setups are currently refilling on their various things. But yeah, so basically the vacuum freezers are fine with the solar power. I could have actually made life a lot easier by also sleeping for during that power during that long power draw. But in all honesty, I just went AFK and played League of Legends. So it while it built the while it crafted the stuff for the first fusion reactor. So yeah, I have also part of making that fusion reactor led me to the very quick conclusion that this one crafting EBF was nowhere near enough. So I've now turned it into a quad. All the guts are underneath. So these are so we have 4 EBFs running at ZPM. For auto crafting. There is some stuff in that these are auto crafting that I really should move to passive because they're either used in microminers or used in Omnium. But we'll get around to that at some point. They're not materials I need large quantities of right now, so I'm not in any particular rush to thingy them. And we also got a new toy as well. This is the data bank. So this replaces the data access hatches on the assembly lines. So as you can see here, we've got 4 data access hatches here. We can actually put a few more. Basically anywhere where there's a computer casing, you can actually put a data access hatch. One thing to point out, these fiber cables are point to point, which, I mean, from a technical standpoint, it actually makes sense. As someone with a network engineering background, it kind of makes sense that the network cables are point to point. But yeah, I wish there was a switch. There is a network switch, but in CEU it's only for computation. It's not for assembly lines. I think the network switch in GTNH, I believe, can actually be used for both, but I could be wrong. But I'm fairly sure the network switch in GTNH can actually be used for both assembly lines and computation. But yeah, we will probably have to make a network switch at some point when we make the research station, because I doubt that one computing array is going to be enough. But yeah, so what that means is yeah, we need point-to-point connections. So the plan is eventually to have another 2 assembly lines here for a total of 4, and then I have the option of putting another 4 here. If I put another 4 here, I will put the hatches in the bottom of this and run the cables under the floor to that chunk. The other option would be to chain data banks, but I don't really think I need to do that in this case. I feel like that the scale Nomi plays at, I feel like 8 assembly lines will probably be enough. But I might eat those words as well. We'll see. So I guess the question is, we should probably just look at the fusion reactor. This is actually like the 5th time I've tried recording this video, just because various things have gotten in the way. But I am going to... This one is going to be the one, regardless. So, yeah, we're going to fiddle about with the fusion reactor. I also built this thing, the multi-block builder. It effectively does the same thing that the terminal app does. In fact, I'm going to put the terminal away because I don't really use it that much. It does the same thing that the terminal app does, but I kind of feel like... I feel like just having it as a tool is, better. So the quest that explains fusion is actually pretty decent. One of the key things it points out is that all 16 energy hatches are mandatory. So if you look at the... Oh, I can't, actually. Oh, no, do I have it? There. So if we look at it, it needs 16 energy hatches. The fluid hatches, however, they're not all mandatory. You just need a minimum of 2 inputs and 1 output. Arguably, this could also presumably be a quadruple input hatch as well. But given that we want to craft stuff in bulk, I'm actually inclined to just do 2 LUV input hatches. Because the fusion reactor is one of those things where you really want to do stuff in bulk, so then you make the best use of your energy. So basically I have 2 LUV input hatches, and then if you don't plan to make all 16 fluid hatches, then you obviously need to fill it with fusion machine casings. So the other thing... That's quite nice. I've not looked at... This is the first time I've opened the GUI. So the other thing is... I need to get rid of that. Is that you don't need to connect all 16 energy hatches. You can really just connect 1. But I believe the more you connect, the faster it charges. So if we look at Europium, for example, which is probably the first thing we're going to make, it needs 150 million EU in order to start the recipe. And then after that, it will use 24,000 or 24,500 EU per tick to keep making Europium. But as soon as you stop making Europium, or stop making anything, then this charge will start to drop. So yeah, that is... You can also change recipes in these as well. You can change recipes, and basically if you change to a lower recipe, I think you lose the excess heat. I don't know. But if you change to a lower recipe, it will just instantly start if the reactor's already fully charged. And the other thing is... and then if you change to a recipe that requires more heat, then you get to keep the existing heat that's already in the reactor, and you just have to wait for the reactor to charge the difference, essentially. So let's build this and see what happens. Oh. I apparently did not have enough casings. No, surely not. Do I really just need... Okay. I'm just going to make the 16 input hatches. Because there is no way... Yeah, I'm just going to make 16 input hatches. And I'm going to break all of these, and we're going to build it again. Because as far as I'm aware, there's no undo. So, yeah, we're just going to break all of these and build them again. I don't know why... I don't know why that didn't work. I swear I made enough casings, but apparently not. So we'll... If I haven't made enough casings, then I will pause the video and, figure that out. But we'll... I don't think making 16 hatches is actually going to do it. Well, actually, it's 16 input and 16 output, I think. So it would actually... it would actually be enough, because that would be 32 hatches. So it probably would have been enough if I'd have done all 16 input and output. But if I need to make more casings, then... Yeah, I guess we'll have to make more casings. I really don't want to, though, if I can avoid it. Because I have a feeling that if I say I want 32 of these, yeah, it needs to craft quite a lot of stuff. I'll tell you what, I will pause here and I will craft these fusion casings and then I will come back because I really don't want to, yeah, I really don't want to, dawdle around. So we'll, so yeah, I'll craft these fusion casings and then 32 should give me more than enough headroom. So I'll craft these fusion casings and then I'll come back. Right. And we're back. This thing was an absolute pain to build. So I tried using the auto builder and it kind of sort of worked. My advice would probably be if you're going to... Oh, we need to connect the output hatch. If you're going to use the auto builder, which you probably should, because this thing is really fussy about hatch placement and various other things. But basically, yeah, if you use the auto builder, I don't want 16 output hatches, but because, well, there's no point, especially if we're using an ME hatch. But what I would do is have 16 output hatches in your inventory. Basically have what the preview says in your inventory. So 16 input, 16 output. You need the 16 energy, regardless. And then basically, and then auto build it, and then just fill in the output hatches that you don't intend to use. Just fill those in with fusion casings. You might as well leave all the input hatches because they save on fusion casings. But yeah, this was an absolute pain to build. But it's built now, so we can see it's fully charged. I'm giving it 8 amps of LUV is what I'm giving it. Now, I've not tried this yet, but I have, for giggles, I've hooked up I've hooked up a recipe for 16 buckets of Europium. So I will probably use this one for I'll probably autocraft in this one. But in reality, once I understand a bit more, I will be passiving some of them. And I do need to build another one at some point for plasma, because we want to set up helium plasma for power. Well, actually, I'll take a look at the other Mark 1 plasmas, but I think helium is the best. But I'll take a look at the other Mark 1 plasmas and see if they're worth making. But yeah, so in theory, we should be able to just request Europium, I guess. So Europium is just liquid neodymium. So it's going to cost us 128 neodymium ingots and 384,000 liters of hydrogen to make 16 buckets of Europium. I have no idea if this is going to work. But we're going to kick it off and we're going to see. So we just got to wait for the extractor to extract all the neodymium. But yeah, we definitely want to... passive some stuff, but I don't understand enough yet about what to passive in the fusion reactor. What to actually set up passive fusion reactors for. So for now, I'm just going to use auto crafting, so then I can keep progressing, and then I can always build more fusion reactors at some point in the future. Right, so this is now stuck, I guess. This should be outputting into the pipe. Why are you not outputting into the pipe? Right, just return you to the network for a minute. I don't know why that's not working. Should we just try and use conduits and see if that works? It shouldn't really make a difference, though. Oh, no, what? Oh, it needs to be a dual interface, I think. So you can use fluid, you can push fluids in ME interfaces, but I think it has to be a dual interface if you plan to use a pipe or something. I don't know why that didn't work, but let's just put a dual interface down. And then we'll hook up the GT pipes again. And see if they work now. Hopefully they will. So if we ask it for Europium now. And then there's nothing in the hatch. Why is there nothing in the hatch? Okie dokie. I'm probably doing something really stupidly obviously wrong, but I will be back in a minute. Aha, here we go. So the pattern was too big. That was the reason why it wasn't working. The pattern was too big. So as we can see, we're making Europium now. I thought it actually had like a ring of energy around it as well. But yeah, it lights up. But yeah, for some reason I thought there was like kind of like a ring that formed. Maybe that's not the Mark 1, I don't know. But yeah, it's working. So we're currently chewing through. So how's that working? 150. Yeah. So what should happen now is when it runs out of power, which will be soon enough, I think. Actually, it's going to take a wee while. But yeah, when this runs out of power, when this finishes, in theory, this heat should start to drop. So hopefully, but yeah, we have Europium, which is what we need for ZPM. Now, the thing is, I don't think I have a solidifier for ingots. I don't. So I need to create a fluid solidifier for ingots. And then we can turn this Europium into ingots. And then that will actually be that quest. Oh, what have I not? Oh, really? Wow. That's... Wow. Okay. Have I got any? ULV... that's insane. I need ULV hatches to complete the quest. It's just you, and I think it's another one of you, and then you. Yeah, there we go. So there we go, fusion. What am I doing? Clicking all the wrong buttons. So there we go, we have fusion. So yeah, that is a major milestone for in both the pack, but also for myself as well. And we can now actually, as far as I'm aware, we can now progress into ZPM. Because I believe we were only missing Europium to progress into ZPM. But yeah, basically, soon enough, we will have we have liquid Europium, and when this finishes, which it will do in a minute, we should see the mechanic that I described, which is where it starts to cool. Yeah, here we go. So there we go. So it starts to fall. So the problem I ran into is this won't push fluids into conduits by the looks of it, and the large pipes the pipes didn't have a big enough inventory. I don't actually know how I would address that. I could probably use a quadruple input hatch. I don't know if you can or can't use quadruple input hatches. We can test that. We can test that. Because if I can use a yeah, this thing's really fussy about hatches, so we can have an input at the top, right? Yeah, so you can use a quadruple hatch. So that's also just lost me all the heat in the reactor, I suspect. Yeah, it has. And all the power. So yeah, basically, I might just do a quadruple input hatch, because an LUV quadruple hatch can have 128 buckets of each liquid, and that should do then, because then I can just put the interface directly on the hatch. Because at the moment, with those huge stainless steel pipes, I don't know what other huge pipes. So huge fluid. I need something ideally that can handle, because I don't know what ideally I need something that can handle that can handle a decent amount of I mean, I could do Naqaduah fluid pipes actually. That's 96. We're not making neutronium anytime soon. So yeah, I could do, ideally I want something that can handle all three, like stainless steel, because I don't know what types of fluids go into the fusion reactor. Whether they be gases or whether they be acids or whatever. We could do lumium, actually. That's 122,000. Yeah, so we might just do lumium fluid pipes. But yeah, so anyway, I'm probably going to end it here because, like I said, I just wanted to get the fusion reactor, and now I have, or get some europium, and now I have it. The next step is, well, I need to go make a fluid solidifier for ingots, because I don't have one. And then I believe that then allows me to move into ZPM, because I can already make ZPM machine hulls. So if we look at late game, has much of this changed since we? Not really. Obviously, we've got ZPM now. And then, we needed Europium in order to get Lapatronic Energy Orb clusters. That's intriguing. I didn't know that. That means we could upgrade our power substation with LUV capacitors to replace, or either replace the IV ones or just stick LUV ones on top of them, which is, I'm probably going to do the latter. So each time I unlock a new tier of capacitor, I'll just increase the height of the power substation by whacking that new tier on top. But the next thing is going to be, now that we have Europium, the next thing is going to be making crystal circuits. You can do it without Europium. You can do it with Enderium, for example. But if you do it with Enderium, or if you do it with bacterial sludge or mutagen, then the outputs are actually chanced outputs. Whereas if you do it with Europium, it's a guaranteed output. Or some of the parts of the line have chanced outputs that become guaranteed outputs if you use Europium. But yeah, I would like, I just need Naqaduah alloy, which I can make. I just don't have a blast furnace for it. But I can make Naqaduah alloy, and then I can make ZPM machine hulls. So I think the next big progression is going to be to get crystal circuits, so then we can make the ZPM machine hull. The ZPM circuit assembler. That's probably the next big progression piece. But yeah, now that we've got Europium, we can make fine Europium wire, which is used in ZPM motors. And then ZPM motors are obviously, so samarium we've got, osmiridium we've got, I need to set up a crafting pattern for these, but we have osmiridium. So yeah, the only blocker has been the fine Europium wire. And each motor is 12 Europium ingots, by the looks of it. Yeah, I mean, it's 12 Europium ingots per motor. So we may actually be worthwhile passiving Europium, potentially. Especially because it's used in circuits as well. Or it will be used in some circuit stuff. So I might actually consider passiving it in this reactor. But there's a fair few other things that we want fusion for, and I'm not sure if we want to passive all of them. Like I said, I've never progressed this far, so I don't quite understand. But I will spend a few days figuring that out, and probably building more of these. I definitely want to look at plasma power, because we can make it. We can make it because the turbine is only LUV. And I just need to figure out what rotor I can use and stuff like that. But yeah, we have fusion. So like I said, huge milestone. So I'm going to disappear now. And and if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry if this has kind of left you questions about the fusion stuff. It's kind of left me questions too. So obviously, as some people may have seen, if you leave a comment, if you leave a comment with a question or whatever, I will try and answer it. It may take me a few days to see them, but I will try and answer it if I can. But yeah. Again, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you all have a lovely day.